Now, former Florida Republican congressman knows how Washington works and getting legislation done. Alan West is here, the Washington Times columnist, Madison Gesiotto. We've got Daily Caller editorial director Vince Coglianese. So, Alan West, to you first on this. I don't think they're going to happen this year. I just don't. What do you think?
No, you're absolutely right, Neil. I don't think it's going to happen. And the thing you have to understand is that you saw Senator Mitch McConnell and Representative Speaker of the House Paul Ryan. They're not making these declarations from Washington, D.C. They decided to take an almost 45-day recess, a vacation away. When they come back in after Labor Day, they have only 12 days in session for the month of September before you start a new fiscal year. And you just talked about the budget, the debt ceiling, all of the things that have to happen. And we really did not see any work on any new tax reform plan until this year, something that all of that should have been laid, the foundations laid for before they came into this Congress. So the important thing is, can they get it done in this year? I really don't think so. Will they be able to make it retroactive to the beginning of this year, which is what the markets expect? They have to.
You know, again, Vince, my big worry is the time frame in which you want to do all of this. I remember they went pushing back and saying, oh, March and April, and then they said by the summertime, then the July 4th holiday, then September. Someone else was talking maybe Christmas Eve. Again, as we mentioned with Mitch McConnell, this Congress, assuming that it's next year. The more it gets delayed, I think the more it's looking denied. What do you think?
Yes, because it's less likely that anything gets done when you have members of Congress and members of the Senate who are looking at the 2018 calendar and thinking to themselves, I don't even want to be a part of any legislation for fear that it's going to hurt me. This Congress has been defined by its procrastination and by its fearfulness. I mean, even look at the transition. President Trump gets elected in November. He gets inaugurated in January. In that time frame, there was no movement on Obamacare repeal. They could have spent that whole entire section of time preparing to have something for the president on day one. The same is true now of tax reform. Colonel West just mentioned it. The House Freedom Caucus and others were pressuring them, skip the recess, keep working straight through. They didn't do that. And now, as these guys come back, this fearfulness, this idea that they get drawn into these dumb political battles with the media and what they think of Donald Trump, that's all hurting them. And meanwhile, they can actually get some real electoral victories out of pursuing something that workers benefit from, i.e. tax cuts.
No, you're right. It's possible. So I don't want it to sound like, you know, it's the end of the world, but it is the end of the world, Madison. So, Madison, let me raise this with you as the President's National Diversity Coalition advisor. Did the President complicate things by this battle of back and forth words, nasty words, tweets, even continuing today about Mitch McConnell, about Paul Ryan, about screwing up things that he didn't like them to screw up? Couldn't and shouldn't he have done that privately? Aren't these the very people he's going to have to depend on to get this stuff through, and they're less inclined to do it now?
No, I think that it's very important that he did this publicly for the simple fact that this is the way the American people feel about some of their congressmen right now. I mean, these people are not working for the people that elected them. This is a huge issue. You know, we haven't had expansive tax reform for over 30 years. People are suffering. A lot of families across this country don't know what their family is going to be able to afford for their children until April 15th. It's very confusing. It's a very complicated tax system. They trust in this president. They elected him last November to make changes to change the status quo. Meanwhile, we have a Congress that's really calling their own defeat before even making a concerted effort to get this done.
He's the big boss.
They worked 8 days in April and just got back from a recess. I mean, they have nothing done,
Madison, love you dearly, you're a great guest, but he's the big boss. If there are screw-ups on this show, try as I might to blame my erstwhile hardworking producer, they always come back to me for some reason. And I think that's something that's going to stick with the president, so he should be careful and not do you-know-what in his own tent, right?
Yeah,
no, you're absolutely right, Neil.
Let Madison answer first.
Yeah, I disagree with you here, Neil. I mean, he certainly didn't pick these people to, be running Congress. I don't think that he's, at this point, a big fan of Speaker Ryan or Mitch McConnell, just for the simple fact that they're not really getting anything done. And President Trump does understand that people are suffering. He does understand what these people need, and he's trying to do his part to get it done, but he can't do everything. He's not the Congress.
Well, he's not doing anything.
He only represents one branch.
He's not doing it. See, my frustration is on...
If it came to his desk, he would sign it.
I understand that, but you can't just magically expect someone to appear on your desk and shout down and criticize the people who are supposed to get it to your desk. Look, I believe there's enough blame to go around, Madison. I think you're right about that. But Alan West, my big concern now is that time's a wasting. And then I see all of a sudden the likes of Mark Meadows and others suggesting that Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell either get an agenda through or potentially lose their jobs. What do you think?
No, you're absolutely right. When you look at this has been a leadership failure, and I have to agree. You know, I think it was President Truman said that the buck stops here. And that is the responsibility of leadership. And so you have to make sure that you're setting that policy vision. And you just can't abdicate it over to Speaker Ryan or to Leader McConnell. You have to say, these are the critical policy points I want to see happen with health care reform. This is what I want to see happen with tax reform. You cannot just say, send something to me and put it on my desk and I'll sign it, because then you are surrendering to the people on Capitol Hill. Always remember that Ronald Reagan was able to get an incredible tax reform package done, and Speaker of the House at that time was Tip O'Neill, a very staunch Democrat critic of his.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. Vince, what I'm wondering is whether, if it is pushed to next year, taxes are pushed to next year, they'll get even done next year. What do you think?
I don't, but they should. I don't think they will get it done, but they should, and here's why. Electorally, it plays really well for them. Democrats have a very tough electoral calendar next year. We talk about Republicans infighting. Democrats have no idea what they stand for right now. They're not even sure if they're pro-choice or pro-life. We're seeing funding disputes in the Democratic Party that are seriously might damage their ability to actually get elected next year. Republicans should seize the moment. If they can come up with a workers' message, one that suggests that the economy is going to improve for the middle class, again, through tax cuts, that could guarantee a lot of these guys electoral victories. They should jump all over tax cuts as an opportunity for the election.
You would think. Madison, I will hope that your hope springs eternal here. So we'll see what happens. Thank you all very, very much.